Good evening and welcome to another scene of Gotham by Night. Tonight we begin this fine evening in a very luxurious yacht down at the Gotham's docks, owned by a quite rich individual named Nathaniel Hightower, who is there with Mr. Talen. And
I think I
who will
would
take it away?
let's
Yeah.
let's have Talon decide if he has he arrived or not.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
We can say we've arranged details to meet at some point.
The yacht is quite big. It has a helipad as well, and a helicopter on it.
So
The
clearly, like billionaire territory.
resources 5 territory. The the way Nathaniel welcomes you is he's wearing like a white shirt. It's a sunny day it seems today. White shirt, black you know normal summer pants, but it's getting to today is just one lucky day that he decided that it's good to wear some summer shit. He has sunglasses. He looks hot, but he sees Talon and says, "Oh, Mr. Talon, please welcome to my boat."
He nods, and with his one daughter drive, he's just like, this is very big and probably dangerous. But he hops on.
There's a lot of like working people around as well. Like there's
I'm sure
security.
it's like docked at the moment.
Yeah, it is docked, and he says, "Please follow me. Let's go to the place."
Very well.
He kind of leads you towards the front of the yacht, where there is like where like I forget what it's called, but when you want to go like sunbathing, you sit on them.
Like
Sunbed.
yeah, just be a mat or a bed.
Yeah, there's two of them. Near them, there are drinks, and like there's a girl who's like doing the serving. She's quite like cute, but he looks at Talon and says, "So, what would you like to drink, Mister Talon?"
Uh, well, if this is for work, I suppose I'll just have some juice.
I know you can drink whatever the fuck you want. It's completely okay. We're here to talk.
Whiskey then.
Okay, I'm gonna get you some whiskey, darling. The Janine, please. Whiskey for the young man and whiskey for me as well.
Oh, that's so. How old does Nathaniel look?
Late 90s.
Like from the late 90s, or he looks late 90s?
Late 20s. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
20s. I'm like, what the fuck I just said?
You weirdo.
Yeah, sorry. Late 20s. He has a mustache, which makes him look a bit older. But his mustache is
Not really.
fucking cool. Because
right.
mustache, the god created mustache for Henry Cavill, so.
Talon kind of. Everyone here is probably pretty well dressed. Obviously, it's a yacht, but Talon's like still wearing these somewhat torn up jeans and like maybe a long sleeve shirt under a t-shirt, like a dress shirt or some shit, something like whatever he was just in the bush with, essentially. So he's just kind of like looking around. He's like, I really don't belong here.
The girl is probably just wearing bikini, by the way, like the girl who is doing the serving. So he kind of looks at him and says, "So, new to this city?"
New to any city. He kind of he just shrugs. He's like, not just this city.
He takes a deep breath. So, we were talking about some business deals. One of the things about the city is that you need money for many things.
So money is what the bar gave me, and he's just like he's got a few $1,000s at this point, and he's been carrying around with him, and he's like, so this is money.
Don't put them around in the wrong part of the city. People may try to stab you.
Oh, I can try, but so this is what's important to people here.
To many people in the world, it's quite important. That's how you're gonna pay if you rent some place, or if you want to buy some chicken from KFC, and you're like, man, I gotta pay.
It's so different from
How
just
did how did you do your stuff when you were in the city?
well, I've spent most of my life kind of out in the wild, so I had a guardian or caretaker or whatever you might call him for a while, for years, but even they eventually left. So this is kind of my first time being anywhere. He like hesitates for a moment. He's like anywhere civilized.
You're probably more civilized than many other people here, but now you find yourself in a situation in a city, and I find myself in a situation where I'm in a new city, where I know many players and many people. We're kind of in a similar way.
So how do you know your place in the wild? It's very much a well. Someone said here it's a dog eat dog world. Well, it's very true in the wilds. It's very easy to ascertain where you stand as opposed to where they stand. Here, everyone, like, how do you know your place? And he kind of, you can tell he's like struggling to find the right words, but like,
Mm-hmm.
how do you ascertain your quote unquote value or strength in relation to others when strength isn't so obvious as who's got better, sharper claws?
It's different to many people. Some people cares about bloodlines. My family, my mom and dad, had the surname Hightower. Kind of born in a rich family. They had a lot of money. But for example, there was a family in England who, the Whittaker family, they come from an old noble bloodline. Noble as in they used to be pretty rich, and they used to own castles when humanity was using castles, and had commoners working for them. And there's a term called old blood, and these are for example, old blood families, and some people cares about that name, that surname that you have. Some people cares about how big yacht you have, if it has a helicopter or not. Some people cares about where you sleep. Some people cares about your mannerism. It depends on individual how they see you. Your place changes against everyone. The way you stand with me, it's probably different than the way you stand towards Tatiana or many others.
That sounds complicated.
It is complicated. You never know your place in this world. That's the biggest issue. It's always changes.
Well, I'm glad that we are well acquainted. It seems you're well educated.
I try my best. A lot of people thinks I am not well so educated, but I am educated enough to understand that some things are false in the creation of humans.
I'm assuming we're like walking around and talking, having this
No, we
music
were
and
just
so
sitting.
on.
They're
Oh,
just
okay.
sitting at the. They were just like sitting at night at the in front of the boat, where it's a warm night.
Oh yeah, it's fucking nighttime because you're a
Mhm.
vampire. So other than the staff and maybe a few girls, this ship's probably not super busy at night
I have
as
no
opposed to
idea.
sunbathing. Well, Talon's probably gonna like gesture to you and then gesture to himself, and he's like, "People here care about appearances. Um, One such example is Tatiana or yourself. Um, some people don't, and maybe criticism on them, but perhaps we could do something about the first impression we leave." And he's kind of like gesturing to his clothes and like his, I guess, demeanor in the
Mm-hmm.
sense, like, I think Tatiana told him that she found him rather naive or something similar to that effect. I can't remember exactly what the words were, but that's kind of what he's relaying to Nathaniel in a roundabout way. Is
Mm-hmm.
I can
uh,
relate. Naive and innocent.
You seem innocent, and weirdly, the innocence is I think it leaves after some time.
leaves, what was that? Leaves out for,
Innocence leaves after some time.
oh, leaves. Okay.
You know, when a tiger, they born, they're small and cute, but when their claws gets the taste of blood, they never stop.
He nods.
You're gonna probably be the same, and I think you should be the same.
She said that it was potentially a liability, though. Would you say the same?
I think you will learn more and more how to judge and trust people. My recommendation is not to trust anybody, including me.
He gets this sort of dark, serious look on his face, like not quite brooding, but kind of just taking it all in a sense. He's not angry, he's just mulling it over.
Now, Tatiana has come from a different worldview. She is quite serious about many things, and to be honest, she's a good person, as much as good as our people can be. But that doesn't mean that you have to be the way she says you have to be. You can just be whatever the fuck you want. If you want to be naive in this way, go right ahead.
Well, I hope to find my place among you. You seem to have a different sort of. I wouldn't quite call it family, but there are bonds that tie us now.
I am not strict like Tatiana, and I'm not let loose like Creed. You probably will find the compromise in me.
When I asked if I could, when I mean, we made an arrangement that I would do something here in order to make security easier, but it will take time until I can do that. I hope that's fine.
What do you mean?
So, when I say home is wherever I am, I'm simply being honest. I can make it easier to cross that line in certain places, and I've already done that at the Rose. If the Rose was to find itself threatened again, I could bring a lot more force to bear on its opponents. However, setting that up is somewhat time consuming.
Now, Rose has a lot of places, and you don't need to just live there or be its protector. You can be here and work with me, or work with her, or work with me and her at the same time.
I look forward to working with both of you. I'm just letting you know it will be a while before I can extend the same level of security.
I actually don't know what you offer to her. I don't even know half of your capabilities. Therefore, I actually asked to meet with you.
Do you have somewhere private on this ship?
You don't need to show. You can tell.
Essentially, my home is kind of everywhere and nowhere, but I can overlap that space with this world. And it makes it easier to punish the guilty, I suppose.
Guilty. Who is the guilty?
Well, if ultimately you're and Tatiana's wrongdoers, those that would. He's like stumbling over the words at this point, like he's been talking for a while, but essentially he's like, I can bring home with me, and those that would assault that space will find themselves biting off more than they intended.
I'm not interested in just you casting things on this place. I'm interested in creating a long-term relationship with you.
He kind of perks up at this. So this is more than just employment.
Yes.
Very well. Did you have anything in mind?
We all need friends, and we all need people to, look after us. Tatiana makes many friends quite openly, but I do actually try to see people and try to understand them. You seem to be in a need to learn about the city, and I don't know, someone to give you money or the things you need. I don't know what you need, but if you tell me what you need, I can try to facilitate that.
He kind of
So
mulls
I
it
can
over.
explain what I need.
Well, I'm trying to learn more, not just about cities and, in a bigger picture sense, humanity. I'm kind of looking for some particular people who may be able to help me learn why I was cast out at such a young age, why I had to live the life I did.
Do you know how to read?
I do. English, anyway.
You know how to write as well?
I do.
Okay.
It's not pretty, but yeah.
You have taken basic education in history?
Not in a school. Mostly just stuff passed down in my family.
Math.
Simple things.
Okay. Then you know the simple things that you don't need to send you to a school or give you a teacher just for you. I didn't know if you knew how to read or write, so I was thinking about maybe getting a teacher for you that you can study here together. Probably was going to be a normal human, by the way, but yeah. It seems you don't need it anymore.
In
I will
addition
help.
to,
Please go right ahead.
in addition to looking for where I used to belong and why I'm was no longer welcome, finding a place where I belong now is also important. As like you said, a solitary existence can, well, as you see, can be rather heavy on your shoulders.
I will help you to find out about your family.
Oh,
Or the people that you try to find. I'm not best at investigating, but I can just sometimes see things that others can't see. Good at people as well. Talking to them, I mean. For normal means, I am going to, if you want, of course, have a private investigator to find out about this.
Talon kind of shrugs and he leans a little closer to you and he's like, so when the Rose was attacked, I assume you know it was the Joker.
Yes, I heard that it was the stupid villain that walks around like a clown.
Until that night, I never knew my last name, or I couldn't remember it. Somehow the Joker knew.
I will, if you give me your surname, I will try to find it out and see what it records.
He'll tell you that his last name is Fiore, and that
Okay.
it's commonly associated with essentially half-breed families. You got the natives and then the Italians, or whatever Gotham is.
He takes he writes it a paper, says this will be done. And I will, again, as I said, help you with the family. And there's something else I will do. When you start a job, or find a proper job for yourself, or when you want to open a job in Gotham, I will actually make an investment. Where I will help you open that job. Let's say that you want to do a dancing class. Just an example. You want to give a dancing class. Cool. We will open that place with you. You will have enough money for me to. I will give you enough money to open an investment, so you will feel more and more home in this city, where you will have a job as well. Because, quite frankly, having a job allows you to settle down a bit more.
I think I would greatly appreciate that. As nice as my particular talents can be in finding things and protecting them, lately I've mostly been taking on jobs from Tatiana and now yourself for security, as well as the bartender at Tatiana's place for deliveries. So something a little more steady is on the horizon.
I don't know your capabilities. As in, like, can you do, can you teach anyone anything? Like, what can you teach the people? When
I'm good with animals and finding certain routes in the city, but as for teaching others, out of character is 3 dots of occult. So if he's going to be teaching anything, that would probably be it.
does your character seems to have a bow behind him? Do he knows how to use a bow?
I'm actually one of the best people I've ever met. I've yet to meet someone to match me in archery.
You can teach archery. I can open an archery school for you. We'll get the papers. You will probably get an education for a while just to take the ability to teach. Don't get me wrong. I am not saying that you will learn. Is that you need to prove people that you can be archer to teach archery. Maybe we can open your own school. Maybe you can teach other people how to do being an archer.
Isn't that archaic by your standards? It's kind of like the city is so technologically advanced.
Some people like to think about old. Recently, I was called old because I use a knife.
I see. I guess we all have our, takes them a second, anachronisms.
Now, what I ask in return is quite simple. I ask you to watch my back.
Well, I thought we already had that agreement.
We
mutually.
didn't. We kind of do, but I would like to do it more.
So
I will.
if shit hits the fan, either one of us can call on the other. We're making it official.
Exactly.
Very well then. I believe I already have you marked with needs must. I do. So if you ever need my help, I can get there fast, super fast. But um, if he is Nathaniel extending his hand or anything, or is it just
He
like
does.
okay? Then Talen will take it and shake it as he's seen others do, and afterwards he kind of remarks, "So this gesture seems to imply an accord."
Yes, people reach compromises, they shake hands, or when they first meet each other, or when they leave near each other, or they simply do it to intimidate each other time to time.
He seems a little confused, but he's like, "Well, I'm glad we agreed
Yeah,
that we're friends."
just an example. He extends a hand again.
Talon like hesitates for a second, like what did I just do? And he'll take your hand.
Like he has strength 4, and
Talon just
like
says average too.
yeah,
Is
he kind of shakes the hand a bit like roughly. If someone does this to you, this means that they're kind of like trying to show you how strong they are.
like bucking horns. Or not horns, antlers. That's I don't know why I said horns.
Yeah. Or go on. Sorry.
He was just gonna say I'll keep that in mind as he takes his hand back.
He looks at his phone and says, I guess Tanya needs me. Would you like to go to Rose?
Sure. We might as well see how the repairs are coming along.
Yeah, we might. He gets up, says, Genevieve, honey, we will drink the whiskeys later. Thank you for being late. And Geneviève's like, I'm sorry, Mr. Hightower. But yeah, he will take his Porsche and go to Rose near Tanya.
Well, I guess we're gonna flip to the other scene, which is probably started happening earlier, so we can connect them by the end of the convo. So yeah, Tatiana is in her office writing down some things since many changes and calculations and bills are coming in. We're trying to rush the repairs of the club so that it can open again because people are complaining. We have investors and whatnot. So there. How about Anthony?
Anthony would have arrived a good deal before the talk between Talen and Mr. Hightower was going on, and probably after letting the security know that he's here, politely asked them, yeah, I have to speak with Mistress Tatiana. With a packet under his arm. They can check it, it's harmless.
Yeah, after talking on the intercom, Anthony will be allowed upstairs.
Very good. He comes in with a big wooden pine box on one side and just goes, good evening. I hope the evening finds you well.
Good evening, Mr. Valente. Please sit. That's quite fast. I expected you'd take a few more days to come up with something.
Let's just say my pool of options turned out to be relatively limited. And he'll sit down and put the pine box slightly to the side in front of her. As you requested, some sort of collateral. So
You will see her closing down the book that she's writing on, notebook, whatever it is, and cross her hands on the table, and then she will look at you, then the box, and back to you, and wait for explanations.
So, due to the fact that I don't have any living relatives that I could offer as a sort of hostage, I had to go for something slightly more symbolic.
Well, I wouldn't like hostages anyway. It's not exactly my style.
And that's why I chose to tell you the truth back then. But I have something that is very near and very dear to me, something I've got a great connection to. And although I'm not privy to all of the kindred disciplines, I think the term is, I think you would still find this some good leverage. He opens the pine box and slowly takes out a urn and very carefully puts it on the desk.
So, what do I have here?
You have here the ashes and the mortal remains of my mother. She, as well as my father, and he takes a deep breath, died when I was relatively young in a freak fire accident. At least that's the official story.
I see. Well, I am sorry for your loss, and I can appreciate the gesture, certainly. It tells me a lot of what I need to know. I can assure you that I will make sure that it remains safe and secure.
He nods silently.
Now I have taken the liberty of preparing a contract that I would like you to read, and she will unlock the drawer of her desk and pull out a folder. If you need any change on the terms, we can discuss it. But what I'm requesting is that I'm being kept in the loop. If something is to be done against me or any of the people I care about, I would like to be warned, at the very least, in a manner that, of course, wouldn't compromise you to your, so to say, employers, masters. What do you prefer?
Hmm. They are probably the only ones that can call themselves my masters. But, well, family is family, even if it is more distant. You know, birds of a feather and all that story.
I suppose.
Plus, that was my original intention, so that you could have a heads up. I am also seeking to get your, how should I say, your reputation in a good enough position that actions against you wouldn't even be considered in the first place.
I will appreciate that. And of course, our professional arrangements will continue unchanged. Any further help that you may provide will, of course, be compensated with bonuses as before.
Sounds fair enough to me. I'm just trying my bit to help this city just not fall into total anarchy.
Oh, let's hope we succeed because we're very close as it stands at the moment.
There is something else I would like to add.
I'm listening.
So that you are better in the loop. There are, amongst my people, let's put it that way, there are some very conservative views on other quote unquote supernaturals. And there are sadly not as many as I would like, but there are individuals like me who believe more in calculated cooperation.
I see.
And you have proven so far to be a worthy ally for such a cause. And that was also another motivation for me to spill the beans, something that I normally don't do.
Well, I suppose this is something that we have in common. I also don't much like conservatism.
It is stagnant, and stagnant things don't grow properly.
Indeed. Do I have to fear from those conservatives of your group?
Um, as for the most part, no. You are not on their, how to put it politely, you're not in their red book.
Just out of
They are,
curiosity,
yes.
what makes someone worthy of that red book?
Um, let's see. If you were to, I'm just taking an example off the top of my head. I am aware that you are very good at making people feel comfortable around you. One being able to make people want to be around you. Being very good at the social game. And
Indeed.
you decided. Hmm?
Nothing, go ahead.
Okay. And you decided unwisely that you were going to make, let's say, Mr. Wayne your puppet and be very blatant about it and cause him to behave very strangely and causing just general trouble. That, for example, would get you. Or if you went to the mayor and made him blatantly, obviously, your puppet and would be pushing for regulations that would destabilize the city. That would also be a possibility. And something that I know you would never do is, of course, also truly heinous acts. If you decided to start eating babies, for example, something I know that you would never do.
Indeed. Well, I guess then I don't have too much to worry about.
No, I haven't seen any really monstrous acts from you. And as long as that stays the way, I don't see any reason why you should have to worry.
Yeah, we're not playing a diablerie campaign.
So you are fine. Currently, the focus is more on the Riddler, plus I have been given permission to deal with the Joker. Both of them are fair game. Both of them can
Yes.
be killed or otherwise dealt with.
Well, the priority at the moment is the Riddler. After that, we will focus on the Joker.
Yes, I would.
Um, have you been
Pardon me.
informed of the current situation?
Sounds as if I have not been. What has happened?
Well, we have two addresses. One is for a trap, One is for another potential lab that the Riddler is using.
Hmm,
We haven't yet
I see.
decided if we're going to follow that trap, but
Hmm,
if you're
yeah.
interested in any of the two operations, let me know. A warning: the one
Mm-hmm.
at the lab, I won't be in charge of that. Creed won't be in charge of that. Somebody else of our kind will. So if you decide to join, I would advise that you follow his orders.
Hmm.
You might actually find that a connection with him, let's say. He's fairly animalistic, let's say. He has a connection to the animal world more than I do, or more than Creed.
Hmm. One of your wanderers, one of your gangrel, I take it.
Mm-hmm. I see you're well informed.
It's our part to play in the world. It is, you could almost say, one of our jobs assigned to us by a higher power. And don't worry, I'm not talking about Yahweh here.
Oh, I tend not to rely on higher powers.
No, but spirits have a bad habit of not leaving you alone if they're convinced that you have a task to do. He smiles.
Hmm, interesting.
Yes. One thing I might or might not have mentioned last time is I'm not too bad in seeing ghosts and conversing with ghosts and wraiths and such beings. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to suggest seeing if we can't get some information out of the corpse. But one thing after another, I guess.
Did you get any information?
So far, I haven't been able to access it, and if I would want to access it, it would be too, how do the kids say these days? Loud? Yes,
Hmm.
and that is not my MO.
Well, we'll see what we can do about that.
Yeah, but yes. I will see if, so, yeah, hmm, if Creed can organize some, I don't know, maybe grenades or something in that direction. After all, we also have the address of the Joker. If done properly and coordinated properly, I could maybe pull off an old World War II move, some dive bombing.
Hmm.
Why play according to his rules? That's sort of the same thing I'm wondering about the Riddler. Why are we putting ourselves at the mercy of a narcissist? And a relatively clever one at that, I'll give him that.
Very clever one.
Yeah,
Has
if
always
there
been
were.
a few steps ahead of us so far.
Mm, if there were a way we could use his nature against him, that might be something worth looking into.
Don't worry, I believe that it happens. After all, Creed has managed to survive him twice.
Yes, because Riddler probably wasn't counting on your folks' ability of not having to breathe,
Hmm. I
and
suppose so.
a certain resistance. I mean, you don't have to tell me, but I would gauge that you're also relatively good at resisting poisons of different kinds.
I can't really say. I haven't tried poison.
It's it's fine. I know that Creed can't get intoxicated the way I could, for example, via the lungs or the stomach. So I would wager that he probably has to consume it after a prey item has consumed it. But I haven't told anyone about this, so no worries.
I sure hope so. We don't want
Folks
our
taking advantage
secrets.
of that.
Yes, and we don't want our secrets known by especially organizations that might be dangerous to us if they deem us dangerous. And let's be fair, you say that it has to be something monstrous, but that may change any time. I don't know. Better stay on the safe side.
Yes, and of course the same thing goes for me. There are already enough people who know what I am. Well, my hand was forced in the situation, but if the number can be kept as low as possible, I would appreciate that as well.
Well, I have not really discussed your nature with anyone. It is up to you. But anyway,
Excellent.
I think you can go and check on the aviary, see how the repairs are going.
Yes.
I will make sure your mother's remains are kept safe. And she will
Yes.
get up and place the urn back in the box.
Yeah. Anthony stands up, gives her a nod,
Oh,
walks
she
to.
will produce a hand for a handshake.
Ah,
And I'm
okay.
assuming that you have signed on the contract?
With to be fair, knowing you, it's probably not going to be anything really extraordinary. So I'll say yes.
What do you mean, not anything extraordinary? Like what?
You know, within reason. But anyway, let's just say yes for the sake of role play.
Yeah.
Uh, so I just want to say, shakes the hand, goes towards the door, turns around and just says, if you happen to know someone who could organize me some armor, that he would appreciate it. It definitely would be getting some info for him easier. And he gives her a bow before leaving.
I will let you know. And she sat back on the desk and continue her work. So let's go back to our boat crew.
They'll be arriving, I suppose,
Yeah.
in the Porsche.
Do you guys need us for anything, by the way, in the scene?
Well, I need you specifically.
Okay, then Nathaniel will get up, get out from the car. Is there a valet in front of this place?
Not at the moment, it's closed.
He will look at Talen and say, "Yeah, you go in. Fucking hell, they don't have a valet at the moment, so I'm just gonna have to park my fucking car."
He shrugs and he's like, "All right."
First word problems, guys. Oh, see. But yeah, very grumpily, he goes and parks his own fucking car. And then he enters the bar. Probably after Talon.
Yeah. Are you guys kind of in the main area?
Anthony is in the aviary, Tatiana is
Yep.
upstairs in the office.
Oh,
Downstairs is probably just the two guards and whoever is like maintenance crews or doing repairs on
I'll head up to the office
workers.
then. A couple of light knock before I head in, if there's even a door.
Yeah, there is a door. But it's probably the first thing that was repaired. Let's be real.
Well, if there wasn't, he would just knock on the frame, just make his presence known, and He nods before entering, assuming you notice.
One moment, please. She will say before that, and she will take the box from the desk and put it in one of the drawers of the desk so that Talon doesn't see it or anyone, because he doesn't know who's coming. Please come in.
Evening.
Good evening, Talon. How may I help you?
It seems your partner and I have reached an accord.
Oh,
I
good.
will be securing his ship as well as your establishment.
They will be bros as the Nathaniel enters the place.
I'm glad to
uh,
hear it.
regarding the Riddler, do we have any plan at all?
There are two separate things, depending on what we decide to do, but we'll have to gather whoever we can. One is definitely a trap.
The address that Creed received.
Yes, exactly. Then we have a different one that was given to us by one of our associates.
I wasn't
And
aware.
that was just last night, so you're one of the first to know, actually.
It's like kind of appreciatively, if that's a thing. And
It's pretty good intel. However, when we go there, because this is a thing that we will have to do, it's not a choice. Uh, Neither myself nor Creed will be in charge of that one. There will be another, so stay cautious and follow their lead. That's what I would advise, because he has a bit of a temper, let's say.
if it would be favorable, I may be able to scout these addresses ahead of time and assess the risks.
I can agree with you scouting the one where the lab might be, but the one out of the city, the one we suspect to be a trap, I would advise against it. It's probably an unnecessary risk. If you're confident that you can do so without putting yourself in direct danger, then it's up to you. You're a free
It's
man, Talon. You can do what you want to do. Just be cautious.
someone who can make themselves hard to find, like myself, may be better suited to taking that risk in place of this. He like takes a while, but he finally like says, "This sort of family we're apparently working towards." In reference to Nathaniel's bros comment, as well as the fact that I'm getting family ties with a bunch of people.
Yeah. Well, is there any help that I can offer in that mission of yours then?
Uh, if there's something that can generate the least bit of darkness or distraction, I think that would prove useful.
Mm, any kind of darkness?
Well, pretty well, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, you do have the phone number of my bartender, right, Jason?
I do.
Why don't you give him a call? He did witness a magically induced blackout here a couple of weeks ago. Perhaps he would be able to reproduce it?
And that would be quite useful, as the Joker seemed to eradicate all darkness from his hideout, and that was why I couldn't. I wouldn't go that far. He would say the Joker. He couldn't pierce Joker's hideout for various reasons, and that would help a lot.
Alright, well, I'm not certain that Jason can do what was done here, but he's a resourceful one. I'm sure he will be able to find a solution for you.
He'll kind of gesture towards Nathaniel and you, and he's like, even the most primitive creatures send someone in to look rather than risking all of their lives all at once.
There's a reason why there were scouts. If he wishes to risk his life, you can't babysit him.
No, I am aware of that. I'm just cautioning against unnecessary risks.
It is a necessary risk that we should take.
Oh, yes, I'm not saying he shouldn't scout. He should, but if your gut tells you something might be off, it's okay to think twice.
You can rest assured I'll practice utmost caution, especially in such an unfamiliar environment as this.
Talen, we also should go to what was the name of that? Shopping with you if you wish.
You're offering a shop with Talen?
Yeah, we should go to shopping with you, buying some new clothes if you want.
I would like that. It's not that these clothes aren't serviceable. I'm just not living that life anymore, it seems.
There is a legendary quote that I like to say: "There's never enough clothing, especially shoes."
I have to agree.
He just laughs like, this is so strange, these people are weird.
Let's not become complete stereotypes, so. Um, However, Talon, I would like to have a moment with Nathaniel, if you don't mind.
Of course. And he'll appear somewhat gracefully, like bow out of the room kind of thing.
Yeah, Tatiana will go towards Nathaniel and hug him, give him a kiss.
Mm-hmm.
So, how was your evening so far?
It was quite fine. How was yours?
Interesting. Um, I don't know if there are many things we can discuss in here. After all, the soundproofing of the room is not yet complete, but remember what I told you that I asked of Mr. Valente?
Mm-hmm.
She will take him by the hand and walk towards the desk. She will open the drawer and take out the box, and she will open it. If I can verify this, I believe it's more than good enough to ensure certain loyalties.
What did he give you?
And you will see that in the box there's an urn probably has a name on it, right, Jason? Jason?
Martha Volente.
Okay. Yeah.
What's this name?
This is his mother's ashes.
So,
It is a thing he holds dear.
so he
So
give you some ashes, and you think that that's gonna give you power over him?
I don't want power over him. I want loyalty.
This doesn't. This is not a proof of loyalty.
You're free to think so. I think otherwise.
I am really sorry, but this is not a proof of loyalty at all. And I'm surprised that you think this way.
How so?
This doesn't give you any leverage over him. This is an ash. You know,
It
ash is just an
says
ash. It doesn't mean anything to anyone.
it means to him.
So he's just gonna do what you say because you have his mother's ashes.
I don't think you understand the agreement I'm trying to make here.
Okay, tell me
I'm
what
not
the agreement you're trying to make.
I'm not looking for a slave.
This doesn't give you any leverage. This doesn't mean anything. What I'm trying to say is,
Not to
you ask for
hear.
loyalty, but no, to him is probably to him as well. Just because he gave you his mother's leverage, you shouldn't just trust him.
Oh, nobody said anything about trust.
But you say that you ask his loyalty, and you act like you have it, and you solve the problem. This guy came here
Hmm.
to
No,
basically.
we're not gonna discuss it here when he's downstairs.
Tatiana, I think you're trying to play games, but I think you're playing so many games at the same so many times, and think that you earn loyalty through this. I am
Oh, it's
sorry.
not through this. This is just to ensure that certain things remain.
This doesn't have any power to ensure anything.
Hmm.
It's just an ash,
That is to you.
and to him, it's his mother's ash. So he won't be able to do anything to
Hmm.
you. That doesn't stop him from doing anything to you.
Well, feel free to investigate it.
Tatiana, I'm not your babysitter,
I
but
know.
I think that you should not act like you know and can guess everything because you. I feel that you're having too much confidence. This comes from me, by the way.
No, I don't have too much confidence. I know of my abilities. I can see things, not the way you see things. That would be an extra. But I have a way, and my way works.
That's no, that's funny and not true. You don't have any you don't have any way to prove that this way works. There's like
Well,
literally no ground that you can stand on that basically states that this works. This may work. I'm not saying this may not, but it doesn't prove that he has a loyalty to you. Guy just brought his mother's ashes to you. It doesn't mean anything. And it may mean things to him, but it's not going to stop him to betray you when it's inconvenient to him. When it's convenient to betray you.
as I said, we will not discuss this here. We can
Then
go
stop
home.
discussing it here.
Then
And he
let's go
actually gets a
home.
bit like angry. You're defending yourself quite fine, but whenever I present a point, you say we'll not discuss it here.
We can go home and we can discuss it there.
But then don't discuss it as well.
So, shall we?
We don't need to go home. There's nothing is going to happen that will convince you that this doesn't prove any loyalty. So this is an empty discussion anyway.
No, it is not.
To me, it is. You don't
Maybe
seem to be
because
convinced.
you have the wrong facts, that's why.
Write it down then.
Write it down. How about we just go? I need this item secured anyway. I don't have a safe here that is secure enough.
Let's go then.
And she will take the box and they'll walk out and go downstairs and they'll bid everyone good night.
He goes home. He drives the car towards his place, and when they enter his place, he actually pours some blood to himself. And
So
he
we
leans.
place the box on a counter or whatever is, closest.
So,
So, this is just an item. This is an item that means something to him. But this is not the point of loyalty because I already had his loyalty, gained by other means. This was a way of me to make sure that if I suffer losses due to this, he will suffer losses as well.
how?
And perhaps for you it might not mean a lot, but for him, I believe it does. It's not something he would do lightly, but this is not what will keep me safe. The reason that they're not after me is because he finds me to be, according to his description, decent. And I'm not planning on being not decent anytime soon, so in the meantime, I will be getting information from him and warnings when necessary.
Then don't say I have his loyalty, because you don't have his loyalty. You have his
Cooperation.
possible cooperation. Yeah. Loyalty is something that hardly exists.
True. I can't say I have anyone's loyalty apart from yours. Maybe Creed's.
You don't have my loyalty, you have my devotion.
Isn't that an exaggerated sense of loyalty?
It is what it is. This seems like a fine gesture, but when shit hits the fan, this won't mean anything. So I'm sure he will make sure the shit doesn't hit the fan.
Exactly. That's the whole point. Anyway, um, let's put this box in the safe. I do intend to keep it safe, after all. I always keep my agreements.
He laughs.
Well, that's how I do business. How do you do it?
I think someone who says I never break my deals is someone who was never forced to break their deals. People break their deals when it's inconvenient to them all the time.
Well, I certainly try not to, or I don't make deals that I think are hard to keep. You need to relax, Nate.
No, I think you need to stop overextending yourself. Too many friends may mean too many weaknesses.
Weaknesses for whom? For me?
He nods and he downs his blood.
Hmm. It has
There's a s-
worked for me for many years. This might be new to you, but I know how to maneuver.
I don't doubt the player, I doubt the game itself.
The game is what it is. In any case, we have to play it. And the truth of the matter is, we still have to coexist with a lot of other kinds of creatures. If we coexist, we not cooperate and join our strengths.
We don't need to join our strengths with the other supernaturals. We
Well,
can be together and work together, but to me, joining strengths is a big term. It's not going to happen very easily.
oh, nobody said it's going to be easy, dear. And she will take the box and walk towards the place where the safe is. She's serious about this.
Why you don't like staying at the boat? He asks.
I'm not a mermaid.
No, the boat offers many different possibilities. It's safer than here.
It's not a home,
It is
mate.
my home.
It's a boat.
Oh yeah. How would you consider me saying your place is a bar, not a home?
Well, a bar is a bar. It's not a home. My
This is
home
a
is a
very
Victorian
traditional
house.
way of thinking from a person who tries to go against extremely different traditions.
Oh, don't go there.
No, I am going
Don't go
there
there.
because
No, don't go there.
just gonna say time to time we will need to stay at that boat, just so you know.
From time to time, yes. But
Not all the time.
I wouldn't want to stay there all the time. I prefer to have ground under my feet.
He will nod and say, I will go inside and practice a bit more. I didn't practice today. So
Then she will go and open the safe and place the box inside. Why practice now? We have online all night. You can talk or read.
what did she say?
That they can talk or read.
Yeah, they would do it together. He is like stay basically playing with his rapier. He works out he kinda like plays with his sword every day.
Rewarding, man. I'm sorry. Back in character. Well, that's that. Let's go back to the club. Is there any interaction between the two gentlemen there?
Perhaps that's up to Anthony. Talen's met him a few times now, and he might approach him to inquire about the funky bird shadow, like he has in the past.
Yes. Okay. If it's okay, I'd say Anthony has finally some of the workmen have come in, and he's directing them. Yes, this has to be there. Blah. This is broken. Blah. Yeah. That. And careful with the electrical wiring there. Uh, you see him direct them almost as if he was directing an orchestra. And he has his back to you. And he seems absorbed with his work currently.
Talen will make sure to approach from, like some people might go up and put their hand on your shoulder or something. He'll approach with a bit of give you some distance, so he's trying not to startle you, to put it that way.
Are you basically trying to walk from an angle where Anthony could catch you in the corner of his? Yeah, basically, as soon as you get into his peripheral vision, he'll just say, "All right, that looks good, boys." Turns around. Hello there.
They wanted a moment alone. Can't say I blame them these days.
Well, in that case, I would say, how about we quickly go to the booth?
Sure.
I can trust those two fellas not to electrocute themselves. They'll go into one of the booths, like around the corner. So they're, at least from three sides, they are covered in.
So, how long have you known Tatiana?
Oh, let me see. She had me around. That would be, a little more than a month now, I would say.
So it seems most of us are new in town, or new to this circle.
That. Well, I've been in Gotham since about my 15th birthday, so I'm almost one of the almost one of the natives here. He smiles, even if originally not from here.
Oh, where are you from? If it's not rude.
Boring place, somewhere out back in Kansas.
He kind of just points towards the door. I'm from uncivilized places.
Yeah, let me guess where the wild things roam. And he gives you an almost. It's supposed to be a friendly smile, but it's a little bit too toothy.
He kind of see around. Pardon me. He kind of tries to return the smile, but he kind of misses out on the uncanniness, I guess. I've noticed people here don't walk around with their tools, and he's like pointing to his bow. Seems I'm from a bygone era.
I have to say that is a mighty fine bow you have there. But talking about tools of self-protection, Anthony produces a heavy revolver, puts it on the table. That, for example, is something that I like to carry. Yeah, it's a bit old-fashioned. I won't lie. I've got something for the old Harrison Ford. Sorry, I mean Clint Eastwood films. and he twirls it and puts it back in. Just in case some punk is feeling lucky.
How do those work? There's a girl I know who has a really big thing like that.
Wait, you mean firearms? Classic combustion weapons?
Yeah, I guess.
I'll take that as a yes. Okay, so you weren't joking when you said out in the wilds. Didn't they have any firearms where you grew up?
My guardian said that they were unwise because of their noise and the difficulty in producing ammunition in the field.
Ah, yeah, your guardian. Interesting that you didn't say mentor or uncle or family or caretaker.
I'm trying to learn about all this, naturally.
Don't get me wrong, but is this the first city you've ever been in?
He gives a slow nod, like he doesn't want to say yes too loudly.
Okay. Fair enough. So you would like to know how gunpowder weapons work.
Common?
They are reasonably common, yes.
I mean, all of Joker's guys had them, and it seems that
Yes.
they are at least common in the people that we're running into. So I feel like maybe I should know how they work going forward, as this seems to be what I'm facing.
Okay. Fair enough. He looks around, Anthony, and makes reasonably sure that they aren't that easily overheard. And he moves in closer, and his pale blue eyes look directly into yours. You are not an ordinary human. So much is clear. There is a scent about you that I just can't pinpoint.
Let's just say I bring my home around with me.
A very wild thing indeed. Okay. I won't push you. Okay. So let's just say, for your standard person, your standard human, they don't really have fangs or claws or spikes or beaks or other things with which they can really defend themselves. One of the reasons why this species is so inventive when it comes to ways of
causing harm.
To arm themselves. Now, of course, they started out with sharpened sticks, then spears tipped with bronze, later iron. They created daggers, swords.
He kind of perks up at the melee weapons, because like he probably equates a lot of it to and stories he heard passed down of his people being Mohawk or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Clubs, bows, crossbows, all manner of tools to maim and harm and kill each other. And then at some point, most of the, and he thinks for a moment, lore tellers and story singers say that far in the east, in a country we these days call China, that they discovered black powder or gunpowder, which is made from three more or less naturally occurring substances. When you put them together in the right amount and treat them a little bit, it becomes a powder that burns very fast.
He kind of takes one of his Molotovs out and puts it on the table, and he's like, so something like this?
Think of, yes, actually not too far off, but instead of the liquid being in there, think that you had a granular black powder that would burn maybe not quite 10 times, but at least 8 times more viciously than what you have in
It's
there.
just like light up. He's just like, that sounds like fun, maybe.
Yes, so as you know, what happens to a fire when it's confined? It explodes. It bursts. So somebody realized that, hey, if I can put this into a long iron tube, this powder, and then at the side of the tube have a small hole drilled, while none of the powder was in there, of course, put some little powder in a pan and light that, and maybe have a lead bullet, basically think of it as a blunt projectile, put in the front as well. You light the pan, it burns, that flame goes into the chamber, that powder turns into very hot steam, smoke, fire, and of course it wants to go out, and it has only one way to go, by pushing the bullet out of the long tube at ridiculous speeds. And then the bullet, because it is fast enough, can normally then penetrate somebody else and cause them vicious wounds.
He's
Are
like
you
nodding
following
along
so
as though
far?
he gets it, yeah. And he's just like, so this is what everyone uses now?
This has been in use since, so first it started out as very primitive, almost barrel-like constructions, and then it always became more refined and better materials were found. But uh, it has been picking up since at least the 1600s AD.
And what year is it now?
Out of character, what year have we exactly? 2025?
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure that was it. I could be
Yeah.
wrong, but
Yeah, and he just sort of looks at you. I see you're missing some. Okay, so just think about it as it started in the year 1600 AD, which stands for after the death of Jesus Christ, a religious figure. We can get into that later. And currently, we have the year 2025 AD. I take it that you can do maths, right?
yeah.
Ah, good. Then you can
He's not
calculate
gonna like scratch
how
it into
long.
the table, but you can tell he's at least somewhat capable.
But yes, and they have refined the powder. They have got many different variations of bullet heads these days. And yes, there are also different sized. There are ones for just use in one hand, and there are also some for use in two hands. Those are normally differentiated between he takes the heavy revolver handgun, and then he's sort of gesturing as if he had an assault rifle in his hand. That would be a rifle or a semi-automatic or an automatic rifle.
Zoe called her weapon a rifle, and he's like,
Then that's
he's
yes.
he's kind of like putting all the pieces together, and he's like, but what about when you run out of bullets?
Well, then if you don't have any backup weapons on you, I guess you can still use it as a club.
He kind of lights up a little bit. He's smiling a bit, and he's like, well, I don't have to worry about ammunition for my bow. I can always just make more or shoot just about anything that's stick shaped.
I see. So you can just pluck out arrows out of the thin air. That is a nice trick to have.
Yes and no. I have to go somewhere else to get them, and they disappear after a while if I get them from there. But I
Ah,
know how to make them in the wild.
oh, I see. I see. Hmm. Tell me, can you step sideways? And with that, I don't mean the normal maneuver.
He kind of gets the feeling he means something else, and
Can you, how should I say, step into a different wavelength of reality?
uh, yes, but you don't seem like You don't strike me as one of my own.
So, yeah, nor do you strike me as one of my own. That is true, yet. Hmm. I'm not getting bad feelings off you, which is a good sign. I know I can trust my instincts. But come to think of it, if you would like me to talk a little more about it, if you would like me to, how should I say, give you a bit of an update, what kinds of weapons are out there and what they're capable of doing, maybe also give you a brief history of the city, I'd be more than happy to do that. But we
He,
could do that, for example, at, I don't know, my place or on some rooftop or somewhere where we'll not be freaking out. And he points to the workers, if you catch my drift.
he just points up to the roof. Then
To the roof. Just a moment. Okay, guys, all okay? Uh-huh. It'll take a... Okay, fair enough. I've got my cell phone on me if you guys need to contact me. I just quickly have to go and have a bit of a talk with my friend there. Uh, okay, yeah. Yeah. Just order 2 coffees at the bar. I'm sure they won't say much about it. And with that, he will go with Talen to the roof.
I'm not even gonna bother rolling because I have 5 dots of parkour and it's not relevant. So
If I wanted, I could have my character go in the shadows, shift into an owl, fly up there, and shift back. So I think both of our characters are
just
competent
yeah.
enough to get to a roof without falling off it.
He just kind of shrugs and he's like, "So, what benefit is there in destroying the world like this?" As he's like gesturing to the city as a whole.
Could you please repeat the last word? I don't think I quite caught it.
What benefit is there in destroying the world? As he's gesturing to the city. It's nothing but concrete and neon lights and so on, as far as the eye can see. So,
Ah, yes. Human habitation. It is a fascinating little thing, especially for those who look from the outside. I guess different than to my kind and your kind who were gifted with at least means of defending ourselves, of hunting, of acquiring what we need just by our very own strength. Humans found themselves in a hostile environment. They, from their forefathers, little tree dwelling creatures, they hadn't really gotten any claws. Heck, they'd even lost their tails quite a while back. They didn't have any big fangs or anything else. The only thing they really had was each other, cooperation, and a curiosity about the world. So, yeah, a long time passed. They slowly developed. For most of their time, at least as far as my elders have told me, mankind were hunters, gatherers, wanderers. They have managed to create tools just good enough to make them at least passable predators. And of course, they had grown their brains, their minds, until, well, in the big picture of everything, in not that long ago, not too long ago, as in 5,000, maybe 10,000 years ago, um, some clever clogs in different parts of the world discovered that, hey, instead of running after the prey, how about we box them in and tame them? Instead of going out and collecting the cereals, why don't I make the cereals grow where I want to be? And with agriculture and animal husbandry, two things happened. First of all, the farmers and the livestock keepers were able to have more children, more offspring. They could feed more mouths at once in comparison to the hunter-gatherers, which always had to keep their populations at a reasonable level because you can only have so many predators in comparison to your prey, something you're probably quite aware of.
By constantly expanding, though, there's
There
weakness in their
Mhm.
existence.
Yes, and that weakness is that a few generations in, those farmers and livestock keepers had to grow more crops, herd and husband more animals because they had more children and their children and their children. And at the point that they realized, oh, I have boxed myself into a corner because, yes, I and maybe some of my kin could go and return to be hunter gatherers, but all our brothers, sisters, cousins, uncles, and so on would go hungry and would starve. Basically, if they wanted to return to the way they were before, they would have had to basically leave quite a population of the people they loved to die of hunger or worse. So humanity boxed itself into a corner, and at that point, they basically realized, well, we either expand or we die. It's only very, very recently, only maybe 1 or 2 generations ago, that in some parts of the world, some of the humans have realized that we're already way too many and we should try to curb this never ending growth, almost cancer like. Something else that comes with civilization, that comes with agriculture, is organization. How do people organize? Somebody has to be in charge. Somebody has to say when the farmers plant their plants, when the animals are to be slaughtered, and so on and so forth. And then out of all of that, I mean, that probably would take forever, and I don't want to give you a lecture here right now.
I don't blame you.
But yes, but let's just say that with every innovation, things became more complicated until we have ended up in cities where people walk on glass and ride in iron, float about in the sky as if they were the birds themselves. Well, technically, even we don't float, we fly. But yes, but of course, it has bred an uh, extreme difference between those whose ancestors had and built up on that, and those that might have had but it was taken away from them, or they were forced to adapt to a different lifestyle, and the have-nots. And it in this city, a lot of the underlying problem, underlying cause of a lot of strife is the struggle between those who have and want more and those that don't have and desperately need more.
He's been sort of patiently listening. I almost feel bad for making you go on that long. But Talen and Anthony are just chilling on this rooftop somewhere. He's gonna ask you where you're from. Oh, that's so. As he's looking at the city, you say you were here from your 15th birthday.
Correct. You have been
Would
listening.
you say which group would you prescribe yourself to or ascribe yourself to?
Now, I don't go around, at least the normal folk, and telling everyone who and what I am. It's a habitual thing. It also tends to make it a little safer for you, just in case you come across supernaturals who might want to take advantage of you, or who, for whatever reason, think that they want to master you.
It's reasonably difficult to do those things. However,
It's never impossible. That's the sad
exactly.
truth.
That being said, in a place with so many people, I find myself gradually expanding my circle.
Your circle, is that your pack
Uh,
or your flock?
I guess so. And he kind of seems like he's mulling over the words. They're not like me either, but we have some bonds that tie us. I see that you're close to Tatiana, and maybe not Nathaniel, but they are gradually becoming important to me, along with a few of their peers. So I thought I'd take this time to understand you, as it looks like we might be entering into a rather dangerous situation soon.
Yes, there are a lot of turbulences in front of us. I don't have to be a seer to know that. All right, all right. Well, would I'll put it that way. You have my word of honor that I'll tell you what I am if you tell me first what you are, because it has been tickling my curiosity bone for quite a while, and I just can't reach to scratch that itch. Would you help a fellow out?
It takes some probably about half a minute of like, do I really want to tell someone that I've only talked to like 3 times what I am? But just based on the word that he's going to tell me what he is afterwards, when I already kind of know what he is in a sense. And it's like, you know what? Fine, whatever. It'll be a gesture of good faith. And you can kind of see him, like, his expression sort of like working through these phases before he's like, I'm what you might call one of the children.
Hmm, I see. And I'm one of what you would call the wing folk.
We're all children in a way, as he's like looking up at the sky and he's like, the mother of monsters can indeed be an enigma.
Hmm, I see. Well, amongst the wing folk, I am of the, how should you say, subspecies maybe? Yeah, of the strigoi, more commonly known as were owls.
Just we can find a mutually beneficial arrangement between us.
Are you worried about me? As in what I might do?
It's more the. I don't see you as an immediate threat, if that's what you mean.
Good, because that wasn't my plan.
However, we're all capable of things we may not intend to happen.
Hmm.
And I'm not entirely certain what your connection with Tatiana is, as have barely I'm barely acquainted with you, clearly.
I am responsible for the aviary. I am basically responsible for the upkeep and also, to a certain degree, the safety of her prized birds.
But there's more to it, isn't there? I mean, why get a were owl to watch over your birds? Right?
Oh, she didn't know in the beginning. I wasn't quite sure about her nature in the beginning either. But not only did she pay well, she treats her staff on the whole very decently. Um, the pay is really not bad. I actually am a trained veterinarian and avianarian as well. And how should I say, work in this city is a little bit on the slow side. So I thought, why not combine two things that I'm good at and get paid for it in the process? It was only when we found ourselves in one of the Riddler's traps when he had time warped us
I
to a
think this,
place.
I think this is the first town that actually had someone openly talk about this in front of him and not just refer to it as like an offhand event. So he'll actually give you a sort of quizzical look, like clearly something big happened, and
Ah, I see. No, but yeah. Of course, you weren't around for that one. So yeah, we've been keeping that information pretty much hush hush for the most part, just to avoid unnecessary questions. You know, from people who were not involved and don't need to know.
mm,
But you proved in the last fight that you were very useful. Although I was still a bit confused why everything went hazy suddenly.
in the
I'm
future, at least as far as the rose is concerned, that will no longer be an issue.
it's yeah, it's okay. But yes, so that's that. And there was basically a big incident where we found ourselves in a different time and a different place, and we were being attacked by the undead.
Or,
Uh, since
pardon me, isn't Tatiana undead?
uh, 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 okay, okay. The brainless undead. I'm talking here about your stereotypical revenants, zombies.
We'll
The
just
brain,
assume he's at least seen some representation of this.
the unthinking undead.
Yeah.
For there are different kinds of undead.
Is if the Riddler can do that, and I'm supposed to find this guy, you kind of see him like slump a little bit. He's like, "What the fuck have I gotten myself into?"
Oh, oh. If you want my opinion on the matter, don't go alone. That's the first one. Secondly, you should know that when we entered his trap, there had been a circle with symbols that I happen to know have to do with time or the flow thereof. I guess if you want, I could make you a sketch of the symbols that I saw, so that if you see that, you know not to enter the circle.
I
And
mean, I think any sort of symbolism like that is best to avoid.
yes, now the thing is, I am not sure if the Riddler is a mage. I guess the other terms for that would be wizard or magician. But those that can, you know, the genuine ones that can actually bend reality to their will, those sort of mages.
He sort of blanches a bit, like I can scare people. I don't go that far. Are we
Yeah.
really supposed to bring one of these reality bending creatures to heal?
I personally would say, you know, shoot him in the chest repeatedly, behead him if you get a chance, and not take the risk of him muttering some curse with his last breath. But yeah, I take it you've been given a task.
I've taken an interest, for lack of a better term, in Tatiana and her peers. They were the first people I ran into when I entered town, and they've shown me nothing but kindness. So, repairing, returning the favor,
Repaying.
yeah, repaying the favor is the least I could do. It seems like maybe this is a little bit above our pay, as it were.
I see. To be fair, I came along because she asked me for help, mm, and I'll let you right know. For most of the undead, I don't really have much patience or time for, especially since most tend to be egotistical monsters.
He tries not to bring up Creed or Nathaniel or Tatiana. He just kind of shrugs and grins.
Yeah, but Tatiana has shown a lot of restraint and how should I say, a lot of decent behavior. And I can appreciate that since that is not, how should I say, that is not always in the naturel of their kind.
It seems that by sheer luck, chose a decent circle to keep. I suppose the luck of the fool isn't just a saying after all.
Quoting the Tarot, are we now?
There's stuff that's been passed down through the generations in my family, and I suppose it's one of them, yes.
Fair enough.
One last thing. I know you've been
By the
here a
way,
while.
he's lit a doobie in the meantime and is smoking it, letting Talen move on and him slowly getting stoned.
um, that somewhat colors this next question a bit, but what are so in the wild? It's the laws are kind of whoever's the strongest can do
Yes.
whatever they please. Here, that's obviously not the case, and people are very concerned about their natural talents bleeding through, and I've had to show remarkable restraint.
The
I
veil, the masquerade, keeping it all hush hush and out of the sight of the mortals. There's a very
Yeah, what the
simple
fuck's up
reason
with
for
that?
that. Oh, that's actually a pure numbers problem. Um, how many vampires do you think are in this city? You know, if you had to roughly guess, what do you think roughly the population would be?
If the city has a few million people, maybe 500,000 vampires.
It is far less. It is more 10 people to one vampire. Sometimes, depending where you are, even one vampire to like 100 people. What the important thing is that as predators, their population is low, but different than to a lion or a wolf, if you will. These sheep, if they become aware that they are being hunted, that they are being herded, that they are, in fact, not the top predators of the world that they live in. They will come together and exterminate any other predators that they don't like or feel that they can't handle. Yes, one on one, a human versus me, fat chance. I'd win 10 times out of 10. But when they come in tens, in hundreds, in thousands, you can be as good a predator as you want to be. They will take you down. It is a whole thing of the lion not letting the herd of gazelle know that he's there, so that he may strike, grab, and drag away his prey. And yes, the flock only being slightly disturbed for a short time. But different than them, what if all those gazelles would lower their horns and rush the lion? He
Well,
would
they're
be
a
speared
prey
up.
animal. They don't have the intelligence.
That's the thing. Humans aren't pure prey animals. They are in between. They developed out of prey animals, but they have also developed towards being predators. They're sort of halfway, and that's what makes them dangerous. That, and they know that they have to rely on each other. Love it or hate it. When an external predator shows up and they are aware, they group together, sharpen their spears, and they will hunt that predator down. That's why we keep the veil. That's why we keep the masquerade.
So, are there any other laws I should be aware of? Keeping in mind he's never been in a city before.
Well, laws. Well, there is definitely one. Since cities have their nature of gathering a lot of people together and that there are hierarchies that start building up. On the top of those hierarchies tend to be groups of individuals who, whether they deserve it or not, are able to exude enough force to basically think themselves master of the city.
Why not dethrone these people if they succumb to hubris?
Because some use politics, favors, knowledge of other people in power that they can use to bend them to their will. That's often called blackmailing. Because they have a lot of money, which allows them to basically buy a certain amount of consensus, buy also a certain amount of muscle, and threaten and bribe their way into their positions of power. And there are also other organizations who are trying to keep the balance in this city so that this cauldron of chaos doesn't boil over. And also, I would guess, I mean, it just would seem reasonable, that certain of those groups would also want the majority, which is the human population, not knowing about us supernaturals, so that there isn't a witch hunt. A few decades
Well,
ago,
you
this
can just
city got cleansed as far as the supernaturals went. A lot of, I'm sure, some of your kind, a good amount of my kind, a whole lot of Tatiana's kind, wiped off the face of the earth because the herd realized that there were predators right amongst them.
simply seeing us breaks their mind. My friend with the rifle is gonna need some help ever since a few nights ago.
I know that in my case, when they behold my other true form, normal mortals fall into a kind of panic. Either they fight or they fly in terror. But when they try to remember what they saw, they won't be really able to.
So you can use your abilities and uphold the masquerade, but I can't.
I have to be careful with my abilities. We call it the veil, but yeah, sure. Why not masquerade? Let's try to keep it simple here. There are some things that I can do in front of others and would be just considered normal or a bit unusual, but not out of the ordinary. However, if I'm caught on film, for example, the camera isn't afraid of me. The camera hasn't got a deathly terror from my other true form. And that then can be looked at by others behind the camera without the effect. And that's how I, for example, could breach the masquerade. That's a reason why in the fight I didn't leave the building. I could have run and then flown after the Joker, but I would have then been on the street, right in front of other people, and close circuit television, or CCTV as they call it. And he sort of points to one that is like two stories down, looking into an alleyway, like one of those.
So I should destroy those if I'm going to do anything obvious.
Yes.
Very well. The only reason I was able to trail the Joker is I'm not easy to find if I don't want to be. And it seems all of my newfound friends are only active at night, which certainly makes it easier.
Well, I would like to point out that I'm also active during the day, but I don't mind. I was always a bit of a night owl anyway. And he just sorry, not sorry, and takes another toke. Oh, by the way, would you like some? And he offers the J to Talen.
He will take it and sort of ponder for a bit, maybe flick it around his fingers a bit before he takes a toke.
Yeah, it's only hemp and a little of Nicotiana rustica, also known as true tobacco. You might feel a little hungry or a little bit more easily amused, but you should be fine. It is not one of those substances that send you on a spirit quest or something like that.
You don't strike me as being among Creed's herd.
I'm sure among Creed's herd there are some who smoke this stuff as well, but I was already an enjoyer of good old hemp before he came around. So sometimes you just need a little help to have relax a bit, lean back, and maybe also get yourself a better vantage point to have a better overview about your life and where you want to go with it.
You said you were one of the Strigoi.
Yes.
That's what they call owl folk.
Yes.
I'm what my people might call a raptor.
Ooh, a bird of prey. I like the sound of that. After all, owls also fall into the category of raptors. Just that we are night active and a little bit more specialized.
Oh. With that, it might be a good point to end it, because we've been going on this for a while, like she said. And
yeah, so I would say that they share the rest of the J, have a good laugh, and Anthony will give Talen his number and simply go, "Hey, here you go. Should you ever have problems with spirits, I am reasonably good at talking with them. Just give me a call."
I'll keep
And
that in mind.
yeah, that was a good talk, Talon. You know what? Maybe maybe another evening. We should repeat it.
He just kind of
Jesus,
nods.
why was not
I,
working? Shut up.
It seemed a little one-sided. Maybe I'll have information of my own to share in the future.
He nods, and with that, he'll be flicking the bud away, going down, and I dare say we'll call it a scene here.